Hi everyone and welcome back. So we're making the chemise. For this I'm using a handkerchief weight linen, and as you can see I've already cut out the pieces. I thought I'd filmed it but I can't find the footage, so here we are. I've sewn the yoke pieces together already, and now I'm starting to attach the lace to the armhole as well as the neck edge. For the chemise, I am using a pattern from Laughing Moon. It is pattern number 100, which if you watched my corset making video, you'll know is the same pattern that I had for my corset, and will also be the pattern that I'll use to make my drawers. And time to sew on all that lace. Alright, so that's the lace applied. So next I will be attaching the lining of the yoke to the front, and well, then I'll have to check the instructions again. I haven't actually read through the whole thing, which I probably should have before I started sewing, but no, too late now. So here we have the yoke portion. It is now done. The lining is attached to the outer layer. It's being turned right side out, which I have to admit was a bit of a chore getting it through that skinny shoulder section. Yeah, trying to get all of that through there was challenging, let's just say. But it is done. So this section now is actually done for the moment. I've already pressed it. So we're going to set this aside and we're going to be moving on to the front of the chemise, and we're going to be doing stay stitching and then gathering stitches on the front, and then we'll be attaching it to the front of the yoke. So that's what's up next. So sewing all the gathering stitches for the front main portion of the chemise. These gathering stitches will then be gathered up to help it fit the smaller yoke. Sorry about the bad lighting here. I didn't realize that having my machine, sewing machine light on would make everything look so dark. And here I am clipping the curves before pinning it to the yoke. And for some reason I chose to hold my scissors at a very weird angle. And now we are pinning the yoke to the front of the chemise. And gathering the front gathering stitches to have it fit. And more pinning. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks pretty evenly gathered. So it's actually not as gathered as I thought it would be. And time to sew it. Oh my goodness, I used so many pins to pin this. Okay, here we have it. So it's all attached on the front now, and I have finished off the seam on the inside. Still need to attach the lining, but that comes later. And I think the next step now is attaching the back. So apparently I lost the footage of actually sewing the back on. But I promise I did in fact sew on the back. Alright, so have you ever wondered how many pins it would take to pin this thing? The answer is a lot. Now, let's see if I can sew it without stabbing myself. And with that, the side seams are done. Hand sewing. I'm really bad at hand sewing. It's a skill that I've never really learned, so I am clumsy and slow. But YouTube and tea make everything better. I finished hand stitching down the inside of the yoke lining now. I should be working on the buttonholes and buttons next according to the instructions, but it turns out my automatic buttonholer foot is broken. So we're going to skip that for the time being and come back to it later. I'm hoping that I can get a replacement foot. We'll see. So we are moving on to the hem. I have gone ahead and serged the raw edge here. Again, not historically accurate, don't care. It will mean that my fabric doesn't fray, which is all I care about. So there are markings on the pattern for pin tucking this, and I will be pin tucking it. However, as you can clearly see, I did not transfer those markings. So I'm going to be doing this the hard way, because that is apparently how I prefer to do things whenever possible. Because I don't know, glutton for punishment, I guess. So for the next little bit, I'm going to be marking my first set of tucks. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. Okay. So apparently I never filmed actually sewing the tucks, which I thought I had, but I can't seem to find the footage, so I guess I didn't. As you can see, I chose to mark my pin tucks just using pins. I did learn later an easier, more efficient way of doing this. Of course, the best way would have been to mark them with the pattern pieces. But yeah, oh well, it turned out in the end everything worked. And with that, it is done. Well, almost done. I still need to do the buttonholes and the buttons, but as I mentioned, my button foot is apparently broken, so those will have to wait. But not finishing your closures is kind of additions, so does that really even count? Other than that though, it is done, which means I'm going to be moving on to making the drawers. Yay, more white linen. For a final reveal video of this project, join me for my video on making the drawers. Thanks for watching.